So you're jumping into Baldur's Gate, and the first question that you need to ask yourself, and this question is long-lasting. This question is responsible for more restarts and false starts than anything else. What character class do you want to play? Because this is one of the things that once you're locked in with this character class with Baldur's Gate, that is going to determine the course of the story, your abilities, your clickies, the magic items that you acquire, and depending on how you're approaching the series, the adventure, no spoilers, your choice of NPCs. So which class is best to play? How do we jump into that? Now, if you're brand new to Baldur's Gate, the safe recommendation, and we don't want to follow the safe recommendation, but the safe recommendation as you're exploring the game engine would be to play a fighter or a fighter-based class. Because Baldur's Gate, while it's a wonderful role-playing game and it has magic and monsters and dialogue and quests and stories, it is a fighting engine. And fighters are very, very forgiving because they can use a variety of weapons in the game. A lot of magic items in the game are magical weapons with some awesome properties. They can utilize potions, a lot of armor. So they're able to deal a lot of damage. Their hit point pool means they can receive a lot of damage. And the specialization lets you spread out to these different weapon classes, which means anything you find you can essentially use. A fighter is a lot of fun to play. And it is one of the most forgiving character classes because the ability to deal damage and the ability to take damage. But as we move beyond that, that's playing it safe. I would say initially, play the character class that you want to explore the story. Now, if this is your first time jumping in or second time jumping in, what gets you excited? I mean, look at the character abilities. Don't worry about the experience needed to level up. Look at the abilities. Look at the aspects of how the character approaches the D&D universe and see what captures your imagination. Because the character class, in my opinion, is important. You can approach Baldur's Gate in two ways. One as a min-max, and this is true with tabletop D&D also, where you only see stats. I'm going to deal the most damage. I'm going to focus on the most efficient way of dealing that damage. An example would be a magic user / wizard versus sorcerer, or any of the subclasses in there. Generally speaking, wizards deal less damage overall than sorcerers because sorcerers, I have more casts per day. I don't have the diversity of the spell pool, but I'm going to select those defensive spells and I'm going to select those offensive spells and just spam them, and just spam them out. Where a wizard / magic user, wild mage, they don't have as many casts per day, and you can memorize different spells, but in exploring those different spells, the role-playing narrative or the interesting factor, something like no alignment is kind of cool just to see. I would never take that on a sorcerer and lock in that spell slot. I'd rather use a scroll. But the reason why I say that is you can approach the game from the min-max, or you can approach, no right or wrong, you can approach the game, and this is how I like to approach it, from the narrative. Because thinking about it, you're going to be sitting down on the PC, tablet, or phone, investing a lot of hours into this story, discovering a lot of points in the story, which is a great thing. This character is your avatar, is your portal into the game. This character is you. So play something that absolutely excites you and see where you can take it from there, especially some of the character classes that might not be as regularly played. There's some interesting stuff. There's some cool stuff in playing through that. Now, another consideration is this idea of the primary classes and then the subclasses. And I'm being careful not to give away any spoilers. In building a party, you can play Baldur's Gate solo. It assumes it works with a party, not only because it's part of the story, but also to kind of balance out the difficulty and challenge ratings found in it. There are the primary character classes that you will pick up as NPCs along the way. So I'm not saying don't play a thief, but do you need 3 or 4 thieves in the party? When you're the primary thief, right? We want to have the diversity of character skills. Of course, you could switch it and say it from the perspective of, well, I want to make like my Thieves Guild. So I'm going to play a thief, aka rogue in D&D 5, and I'm going to just, as I come across an NPC thief, they're going to join the party, and I'm going to play all thieves. That is a perfectly good way to play it. So you could play that narrative from that perspective. But if we're looking at it tactically as a combat engine, which Baldur's Gate is, a D&D tactical combat engine, there's a story there. There's choices to be made. There's godlike powers to be unlocked. But spreading the skills out, fighters, magic, buffers, healers, thieves, ways to deal with traps, and all those aspects, having a balanced party, that's kind of where it goes. So that might play into your decision of what character class to play. But ultimately, while there's no right or wrong, my advice, even for a brand new player, look through the different character classes and see what excites you. Don't worry about min-max. See what really excites you and jump into the game with that class.